I'm here at the Flying J in Resaca, Georgia, halfway between Atlanta and Chattanooga on Interstate 75. Brand new DC fast charger implementation by General Motors, Pilot Flying J, and EVgo just opened. I'm going to do a News Coulomb site review method review of this brand new station. For some reason, Pilot Flying J has targeted the Interstate 75 corridor to build DC fast chargers. There's a couple other corridors, but 75 for sure is one. And they've got stations either under construction or open from Saginaw, Michigan, all the way down to Tampa, Florida. And points in between. The state of Ohio, the state of Georgia, the state of Florida, state of Michigan, Kentucky, Tennessee, all have stations on Interstate 75 in this new network. Let's see if plug and charge works. Yep, payment has been authorized. So this is one of the ones on Interstate 75, and it fills in a gap between Chattanooga and Atlanta. Once you get to Atlanta, there's not a station in Atlanta, but there's a station just on the other side. And then there's additional stations further on down that are also spotted under construction in the state of Georgia. So in the state of Georgia, there are, I think, 5 stations in total, 3 of which are on Interstate 75. So it's connecting to vehicle. I've got plug and charge with this, so it should just zip right up. Let's see. And I posted in here with about 10% state of charge, so we should get all the way up to about 185 kilowatts. We'll check that as well. So 75 has gaps being filled in. Valdosta, Georgia, on the southern end of 75 near the Panhandle, we are charging. I don't know if we can see this, but I'm past 80 kilowatts, past 100 kilowatts. We're continuing to ramp up. Is spotted under construction is a canopy site just like this. This one is on the northern end of 75 in Georgia. I'm at 170 kilowatts. Normally what will happen here is it'll slow down, 179 kilowatts. It'll slow down here a little bit while the battery warms up. I didn't precondition while I came over here. I normally don't do preconditioning just because I'm not normally in a big rush in order to move on. And then they have Interstate 85 and Interstate 20 as well with additional stations. I just came from an additional station that was spotted under construction, having a canopy going up on Interstate 20 in central Georgia. So Georgia has definitely been targeted by Pilot Flying J as a location. All right, 173 and creeping up as a location in order to spend a lot of their capital. This is a nice location because not only does it have the travel center, the convenience store, but there's a really nice attached Denny's restaurant, which I really appreciate. Some people don't like to take the time to do a sit-down meal, but Denny's kind of bridges the gap between quick service and full restaurant. Their service is normally pretty quick and is table service, and you've got a full menu to choose from. They have something called, I think it's called an apple crisp that I'm gonna get. It's pretty quickly prepared, it's hearty, it's sweet, it's really delicious, and when I have an opportunity, I like to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get one of those. All right, we're wrapping up past 174. All seems to be good here. I could tap out at about 190. Normally what happens is I'll go up to 185 after the battery warms up, and we'll see if we get there. And I'll post the charging curve at the end of this video as well. So another thing I want to point out about the layout of this very common square canopy that is in use here. This is the most popular type of canopy. There's a couple different type of canopy layouts that Pilot Flying J uses, but this one's the most popular, is that it's supposed to be 4 stalls. And one of my commenters who watched the video pointed out, hey, this really only looks like 3 stalls. And he has a point, because if you look at this middle lane, if someone pulls up and sits in the middle, they negate they're using 2 stalls. They have to know to stop at the line. If they don't stop at the line and they come up halfway through, they're basically taking 2 spaces. That's the only way you could get 4 cars in here, is that if both middle people recognize, like in a gas station, you have to stop. And that kind of puts the cable length in question for the middle positions. Now, I've never seen these stations totally full, but inevitably they're going to be, because Interstate 75, I just got off it, was horribly congested. And as EV adoption continues to increase, the word's going to get out that there's really nice stations right off the interstate with a convenience store within walking distance. And they're super fast. These are 350 kilowatts. So if you want to get on the road quickly, you come to a station with 350 kilowatts. So these are going to get used very heavily. And I think eventually that design is going to cause a problem. It's really nice to have the property owner of the EV charging station running it, because the facility that's attached, you're a paying customer for. So you got full rights. Walk in, use the facility. You don't have to ask for permission or anything like that. At places where the site host is not necessarily the CPO, sometimes there's a bit of an awkwardness as you go into the facility. Not so here.
This right here is what I'm getting. I definitely recommend it. It's only $5. It comes out real quick, and it's a really healthy portion of a baked apple with ice. Looks like when it gets here, it's got a healthy portion of ice cream, caramel, apples, and a little bit of powdered sugar. So it's a very healthy portion. And here's the receipt. It's $5.34 with tax. I put a $1 tip on there, so $6.34 total. Nice little snack to eat while the car charges.
Okay, the Lyric is a 400 volt car. You can see I'm currently pulling 175, 176. As I said, the battery came in here kind of cold, even though I was doing some interstate driving. Notorious Atlanta traffic was keeping us at a pretty slow rate. So battery is probably not too hot, but you can see we're starting to ramp up. All as expected according to the Lyric charging curve. And the kilowatt hours are getting dispensed. Everything seems good. Sometimes with these newer stations, they're a little bit glitchy, but this one seems to be humming right along. No problems whatsoever. Okay, I'm past 50%. Let's go ahead and take a look at the charging curve. I've recently switched from an Apple iPhone to an Android, and it's really outside of my comfort zone, but let me see if I can get this working. There has to be a screen record. Okay, so there's a screen record. Okay, we are recording. Let's take a look at the charging curve. All right, so we peaked up near 180, then we started to drop off. I'm not sure if that's a result of the Lyric or a result of the charger. I'm guessing this is a Lyric issue. It is pretty warm out, and so perhaps something thermal was resulting. But right now I'm getting 77 kilowatts at 51% state of charge. 40 kilowatt hours have been dispensed. Okay, before I do the full site review, let's go ahead and walk around, because this is a very nice facility. Not only is there the brand new electric vehicle charging station with the canopy, but there's the full convenience store, as you can see. As I mentioned, there's a Denny's restaurant, and this is a full travel center really designed for long haul truckers as a fuel depot and rest stop for them, where they could come in, they can get some food, they can get some fuel, have a place to park their truck to rest, get a shower, do some laundry, and really that's what this place is designed for. The automotive amenities are really ancillary. The primary purpose of Pilot Flying J in our society is to provide diesel fuel for long-haul truckers and a fuel depot for them.
Here's the vital statistics. It's the Flying J Travel Center in Resaca, Georgia. The PlugShare location will be linked down below in the description. It has 4 stalls, and Auto Charge Plus, it does not have ISO 15118. The News Coulomb Site Review model is a 50-point scoring method that has 5 categories: access, amenities, concentration, location, and speed. As was mentioned, this is one of 15 locations on Interstate 75, either open or under construction. It is immediately off the interstate. It's a very large piece of property, as is pretty common for Pilot Flying J's. I think that's one of the reasons why Berkshire Hathaway wanted to purchase them, is their large real estate portfolio. Now let's get into the points. The first one is access. And as you can see, it scored 100% in this category. It got every single point available. There are ADA compliant spaces. There are signed ADA compliant spaces. Also, this location has pull-through stalls, which are very coveted. The cable management on the Delta dispensers, I really like. Some of the cable management with other dispensers has a little bit longer cable, but I find these to be sufficient. There's also enforcement against icing with signage, both with signs and painted lines in the stalls. It's very near the entrance to the site, and it's also within a short walk to the main convenience store. The main highway is, as I said, a very short walk, and the Delta dispensers have pretty solid point of sale options where you could use both Apple Pay, Google Pay, or a credit card. As I mentioned, with my cars, I use plug and charge, so it does have the plug and charge option as well. And I would say for this location, it is sized appropriately, so I gave it a check mark there. Now let's talk amenities. This one does have one of the coveted canopies, which has built-in overhead lighting. There are multiple lights spread around the canopy. At nighttime, the perimeter of the canopy lights up with neon, and underneath is very well lit. The facility is open 24/7, 365. It never closes, so it has bathrooms and on-site security. There's also trash cans and squeegees. They're not immediately at the dispensers, which I find unfortunate. I found what happens is the staff recognizes after a while of these stations being open that they're being pretty heavily used, and then they start positioning trash cans and squeegees within the station. But right now is a short walk over to the gas pumps in order to get a squeegee or use a trash can. There are dining options, as was seen. A really nice Denny's is within the facility, and also there's quick grab-and-go options from the convenience store. It's a fully stocked convenience store, also with a counter service meal option as well. There is a large area to walk pets, and not always the case at Pilot Flying J's, but at this one, it does have a lot of additional pet walking area, and it has places to sit. As far as novelty, there is a point of interest called Elder's Bridge somewhere close by. I'm not familiar with that, but because it was called out within the facility, I went ahead and gave it a point for that as well. Now let's talk concentration. As with all Pilot Flying J's, there's only 4 stalls, so it does lose 4 points in this category. However, the number of chargers appropriate for the venue, I would say yes. Most people going through this facility are for the gas, and as I mentioned previously, really is for long-haul truckers. The number of chargers appropriate for the route, right now I'm going to say yes, but 4 is starting to be the bare minimum for these heavy interstate corridors. But I was there for probably about an hour, and no one else showed up, so it did get a check mark there. As far as the region, I would say yes, because it's a very rural community, small population, and low EV adoption from what I could gather. And the site is supported by other stations within proximity. EVgo has multiple stations up and down this corridor, and also in adjoining cities. For location, it's a very short walk to the interstate, as I mentioned, so it gets all the points for that. The one it doesn't is 50 miles from the nearest public fast charger. There are additional public fast chargers less than 50 miles away, but everything else in this category it cleaned. There It is also in an incorporated area with no other public fast chargers, so it gets a score for that as well, which is good, meaning it's filling in a charging desert. Now let's talk speed. The transformer is 750 kVA. There are 2 Delta chargers feeding 2 Delta 350 kilowatt dispensers. That puts it under 1 megawatt, but over 500 kilowatt for total throughput. The dispensers, as I mentioned, can dispense up to 350 kilowatts. My car, the Cadillac Lyric, could only take 190, but I was seeing charging speeds up to 180. So it did very well in this category as well, giving it a total points of 42 out of 50.
So there you have it, a brand new DC fast charger station open on Interstate 75, halfway between Atlanta and Chattanooga, courtesy of the partnership between Pilot Flying J, General Motors, and EBCO. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.